Leviticus 13:3. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakwadash, and double honors to the elder apostles of Great Millstone for teaching the truth according to the Bible. I want to talk today about one of the identifying markers of the enemy. The main physical identifying marker of the Edomites. You know, and a lot of people, they get sensitive about this topic, but you know what? It's reality. The reality is that yes, the so-called white man is indeed the devil that the Bible speaks of. And the Bible speaks about the skin being white. When your skin is white in the Bible, that's a plague of leprosy. It's the curse that was put upon them, upon Cain first, and then Esau when he was born, and then the descendants of Esau, the Edomites, as an identifying marker. Now we do know that there are Israelites, you know, that will indeed look just like the Edomites. They will indeed look just like the Edomites. And there are indeed Edomites that do look like Israelites. So just by the outward appearance, you can't tell if somebody is an Israelite or an Edomite. But in general, you can discern that the Edomites are indeed the so-called white man. Let's read this Leviticus 13:3, talking about the plague of leprosy. And it says, and the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh, and when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in the sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him and pronounce him unclean. So we know that the Israelites of the Bible were melanated people. And there was a time where all the nations were melanated people. But since we're talking about the Israelites, we have to understand that the reason why it says here in verse 3 that when the hair in the plague is turned white. Well, white in opposed to what? How would we know if those people over in the land today who are claiming to be the Israelites, white as snow, which reminds me of another verse that I'll get in a minute, but those people claiming to be the Israelites, how are they going to tell when they have this plague of leprosy? It says when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in the sight be deeper than the skin. So it goes deep into the skin where the melanin would be. The color of white in just juxtaposed to what? Well, that would be the color brown. Because the Israelites are you so-called Negroes, so-called Hispanics, and so-called Native Americans. You melanated people. You different shades of brown. It was easy to identify. We can go down a little bit. And it goes into deeper detail. We'll start here at verse 6. And the priest shall look on him again the seventh day, and behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. See, once the color starts coming back to that plague of leprosy in the skin, the priest can pronounce you clean. The melanin is coming back to your skin. We're just trying to identify who the enemy is. And the Lord did us a favor by making it easy for us to identify who is who. Now, in the ancient days, it was easier. Today, with the mixing and the mingling of the peoples and Israel being scattered throughout the world for so long, of course, we're going to look like all the nations. But indeed, this is one of the identifying markers. We'll start at verse 7 here. But if the scab spread much abroad the skin, after that he hath been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the rising, look, this is it right here. If the rising be white in the skin, and it have turned the hair white. So in the Bible, having white skin is not a good thing. Now, there's a difference between the leprosy that is of a sickness, and there's also what you call a clean leper. A clean leper, also known as an albino, someone who's missing their melanin in their skin. And we can go back to Genesis. We can go back to Genesis chapter 4 and see where this mark comes from. Bear with me here. We'll start at verse 14. Behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face. And this is Cain speaking after the Lord confronted him about slaying his brother Abel. And he says, behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive. See, a fugitive is a criminal, someone on the run from the law, from punishment, and a vagabond, someone who is constantly traveling, wandering around the world, who has really no home. And that's why Esau has to take everybody else's land, because he really doesn't have a homeland. And Europe really isn't even his. The original Europeans were the sons of Japheth. And continue. And a vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord Yahweh said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken upon him sevenfold. And the Lord put a somewhat of a hedge of protection on Cain, not because he loved Cain, but because he wanted to save Cain for the end, for last. He wanted to deal with Cain himself, and he didn't want anybody else to take vengeance on Cain. So what did he do? He says, therefore, whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord Yahweh set a mark upon Cain. What is this mark? What is this mark? What mark did the Lord set upon Cain? Well, now we know that it was a removing of the melanin in the skin. A removing of the melanin in the skin. He set an oath. The definition is a sign, a signal, a distinguishing mark. See, a distinguishing mark opposed to what? Opposed to all the other nations that were on the earth at the time who were melanated, who today would be so-called black. A distinguishing mark. Well, what was the distinguishing mark? Well, Cain no longer had his melanin. He would be what we would call a so-called albino, a so-called white man. a so-called clean leper, something to remember him by, a remembrance, a miraculous sign, an omen, a warning, a token, right? These are all the definitions of what the Lord did to Cain. And it had to be something miraculous so that we could see it. And your skin is the biggest organ on your body. So anybody that sees him would immediately be able to identify who he is and that he was cursed of the Lord. And the reason why we're doing this is because we just have to, we got to be able to identify who our enemy is. Right? This is just a part of the process of identifying who the enemy is, knowing exactly what he looks like. That is the first step, knowing what he looks like. This is 2 Thessalonians 2:3. Let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come except there come a falling away first. And we've fallen away. Israel has fallen away. We fell away after we got kicked out of the city, out of Jerusalem in 70 AD. And we've been falling away ever since. Except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. So this is just a part of revealing who the man of sin is. The people who the Lord have indignation forever. The Edomites. We got to identify them. The Edomites are the wicked. The Edomites are the ones that the Bible speaks of. So this is just one thing I wanted to bring up, because it is true. The white man is the devil. The so-called white man is the devil. And that's why we call you E, because we would rather call you by your proper name. The name that the Bible has given you. The Edomites. The Edomites. So hopefully you were edified by this lesson. I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Shalom.